Oh, Shawn Michaels, will he ever come back? Now, of course, we saw the opening of WWE Monday Night Raw with Shawn Michaels' music hitting, and I was very surprised because I hadn't gone near the dirt sheets. I hadn't actually heard that he was going to be anyway involved, but it was such a welcome surprise and a shock to see him come out and cut that promo. This is what I've personally been missing for the past few months, and indeed since Shawn has been gone. It's that star power factor, and we got to see exactly what it's like when you put someone like that back on the screen. Immediately you are concentrating more, that charisma, it all captures you, and then it sets up the show very nicely, I think.
It does indeed. I think having Michaels back, certainly they could do with the star power, especially that Jarrett goes out of the picture. And of course, no better man than the guy who has, I suppose, the most interest this week in the wrestling world, and that would be CM Punk, to pair him up with to start off the Raw. On the other side, Punk, no, sorry, not Punk, but Michaels. Sometimes I get the feeling that when they're in those kind of dire straits and they need help, Stone Cold is a phone call away, Shawn Michaels is a phone call away, Dwayne's a phone call away, and it doesn't excite me too much. It's just like he's just been here a couple of weeks back, and he's retired and he's done all that stuff. And I think Punk had a lot of truth in what he said, where he just can't stay away from the business. So, in that sense, I wasn't too excited. I know you liked it. I didn't. From the kind of DX, we'll say the later DX with him and Trips up to now, he's kind of just being that kind of Shawn Michaels, bit of a goof, does what he does. The only thing that excites me about him is the kind of Mania matches and the hype up to it. Bar that, I kind of lost interest with the guy a long time ago, I will say.
I'm really glad that he has been fitted into that Stone Cold role. Stone Cold, of course, as you said, has always been on standby when they need him, and now hopefully Michaels is going to be more open to being available like that. Now in this case he did have something to promote, and that's fair enough. Often Austin does, same with The Rock. He might even talk about movies from time to time, but at least you know that he is open to it. And when you saw him in there, you felt like, again, you're seeing him back where he should be. And I've always thought, look, he's young enough, he might have injuries, but they can Bret Hart the guy. They can put him in there and he doesn't have to be as competitive as perhaps a current active in-ring wrestler might have to be. But mentioning CM Punk, of course, that was the whole bit about this, if you like, where you had Punk coming out and you had that, in my mind, a dream match. Now, I've seen Punk develop wrestling-wise. I haven't ever bought into his entertainment angles, I think ever. But with the wrestling, I see that high quality. I don't quite see Michael's level, but I think that as a pairing, that as a potential WrestleMania 28 match would be incredible. Maybe is there a possibility that they said, well, look, we've got stuff for you, and maybe they even possibly teased him with the fact that, well, maybe we might have a Michaels match in store for you if you maybe re-sign that contract.
That's a very fair point. I didn't even think about it like that, actually. I wonder, as Punk said, can Michaels stay away from the business? If he was offered that Mania match, would he take it? And more importantly, would it be with Punk, or would we see another Undertaker deal? Speaking of Michaels, I suppose in ring, one thing I did like about him, I will say, in his prime, and certainly in those WrestleMania matches, is he's got a good knack for kind of storytelling in the ring, and it's not just a complete spot fest. He doesn't rush it. He doesn't have to go nuts. I think Punk kind of has got that message these days, compared to that Ring of Honor style. Like, I did watch, not to go completely on a tangent, but I watched the Ring of Honor pay-per-view from last week or the week before, whatever. It was the Best in the World, whatever week that was on. One thing I did notice about, I won't go too far on this one, but the main event match there with Eddie Edwards and Davey Richards, is that the other chap? I felt with that, and I was just comparing the two for a sec, that it's so fast and that there's so many spots and so many crazy ass moves within the space of that match was 45 minutes probably or something. Went for quite a bit, that one, none of the guys are really selling anything, so how are you supposed to believe into it? Two, there's so many crazy ass moves that if it was supposed to be legit and you were supposed to believe what was happening in the ring, that's just not going to happen for the first 10 minutes. You're just going to go, this is insane. Now, it's fun to see these kind of crazy ass moves that I've never even heard of. Some of those guys on commentary were calling crazy spots, like an alarm clock. I don't know what the fucking alarm clock is. Or some other one, some fisherman, I don't know, like crazy ass moves that I've just never even heard of. But getting back to Michaels, at least one thing he was good at was telling a story in the ring and keeping the pace relevant, and I suppose keeping you in suspense of what was going to happen.
Yeah, Punk mentioned Ring of Honor in that shoot promo, which we're going to talk about. Was it a work? Was it a shoot? We're going to discuss that in detail, and of course the ramifications of that. Quite serious. Well, maybe he doesn't think so, but we're going to talk more in depth about that. I thought it was quite derivative, actually, of stuff that's happened in the past, but there you go. I know there was a huge reaction to that shoot this week, and of course, you know, let's say that Michaels was somewhat involved in the build to that, because of course, you know, Punk appeared on that program with Michaels to begin with. He ended the program with that vocal outburst against McMahon and everybody else. Laurinaitis even got the rub there, and actually I think Laurinaitis may have been out earlier to stop the fight with Mark Henry.
Yeah, I think so.
He was out there. He was that guy in the suit.
Yeah, but, I think so. Yeah.
Laurinaitis not.
Which is crazy.
Well, these days he's not invincible because people know his name now, and that he's responsible for a lot of this stuff.
Without doubt, yeah, without doubt. Yeah, I did question, was that him? Because I thought for a minute it was that other chap, not Briscoe, but what's that dude we met that time?
Well, there's been a few now. I think you might be saying the guy. He's a legend type guy, but I forget his name off. We did meet the Briscoe, so maybe that's the guy you're thinking of.
No, I don't know. I think maybe it was.
I forget the name offhand.
Brass.
Yeah. I can't think of it offhand, but it's there somewhere. We could pull up the photo actually, and maybe you might tell us because we can't remember.
I can't remember the dude's name.
But no, Shawn Michaels. You know, it occurred to me that every time he steps into the ring like this and he gets that taste of what it was like, he's got to be thinking to himself, I can still do this. And why, I suppose he does want to do other projects and he wants to make it away from the wrestling business, but you don't want to go too far away. And certainly he's demonstrated that he knows that, because he's made, just in this short time that he's been supposedly retired, he's been back and he's done stuff. It took a lot longer for other guys who had said, well, I'm done now. Of course, Flair didn't take 5 minutes, but he ended up at TNA. Not very present on there in recent weeks, of course. A little bit of trouble for Flair, but I suppose I think that's all been settled now with high spots. That thing has sort of been going on for a while, a bit of a court case there. But Flair and Michaels are one that I've been comparing a lot recently, because of course Flair said, I'm done, and he came back. Michaels has said that, but he's got decades to get through before he can say, well, you know, I didn't come back. I mean, can he last that long without saying, look, one more match?
Here's the thing, I think. With Michaels, if he didn't have that injury that he kind of had, that kind of sidelined him for a bit, and then when he came back with that awful haircut and he'd found God and all that jazz, if he hadn't of, if he did a straight run the whole way through, like many of them did, Hogan's, Flair's, for the most part, they didn't really have a career break in a sense, I think he would find it a lot tougher. But now that he has done that, he's had, in a sense, that retirement kind of match, and he's got his kids. I do genuinely believe that it's all about just selling that new program, and that if they're really stuck, he will do it, but mainly it's kind of like the CM Punk Stone Cold thing that they kind of ran with for a week or two because of All Stars. You know, it's just getting the fans hyped up about it and the possibilities. I don't think Michaels, but again, you know, look at Flair, you say he'll never get back in the ring, but I've got a feeling Michaels is smart enough. He's kind of seen Edge he's seen Edge go, look, I'm injured and I'm out of here and I'm not going to risk it. And Edge is a young guy. I think he would be foolish to jump back in there.
That's right, he could certainly keep it for a few years. Maybe we do need that just total blackout, no Michaels whatsoever for 3-4 years, and then come back. And it's not like people will then be like, oh, you said you were done. They'd be happy to see him after that long. But he's got a lot of ways he could do it. Is it the end for him? Maybe he is going to be the guy that says, look, I am done. I'm not going to do anything in the way of wrestling. But I certainly can see him as a manager role. Am I right in saying that Flair came back to manage someone at WrestleMania before TNA? It was post 24. Has he been back since then?
Flair?
Yeah.
In the E?
Yeah.
Well, Michaels would have been the last one, right, for him, and then that retirement thing, which was WrestleMania, what, 25, 4, 5,
26, I think.
26.
Retirement for Flair 24, and I just have this memory of Flair coming back. I could be wrong altogether. The Legends match, someone mentioning. But let's get to your comments right now as we look in our live Justin.tv chat room. Of course, you can join us on Sundays, 9 GMT, 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific, here at Justin.tv/WrestleDope. And of course, we try and be here each and every Sunday, and of course also for those WWE pay-per-views. Now, CCKK 0111, The Rock is younger than Hunter, so he could come back for another year or two. To Firesoul 86, there's nothing left for Rock to do apart from face Cena. And CCKK, the crowd supports him so much, he would be great for promos. And why was Punk wearing a Stone Cold shirt? I didn't notice that myself. DN Moriarty, Austin was a Paul Heyman guy. And CCKK, Paul Heyman was actually pretty good at his job, I think. And also some people talking as well about Shawn Michaels. And it was DDP as well, back on the programme.
Mm-hmm. That was a short enough spot for him. Booker was bloody good again, wasn't he?
Very, very good.
I have to say. Yeah, he's really keeping me entertained, I have to say, in the long run. As far as Punk and the Stone Cold shirts, I did question it myself. But again, a lot of people, from what I've read and stuff, this wasn't my own opinion, so I'm not going to take credit for it, but a lot of people have come to the conclusion that the reason it was worn was because it was in tribute to that Austin breaking into the 316 deal. And maybe a change in the current for the product with Punk and that big time shoot at the end of Raw. So that makes sense to me, I suppose.
It does. Now, of course, we have talked about Shawn Michaels. Of course, that pairing as well, like I say, on screen, Punk and Michaels, I think it's a dream match. And some people saying that maybe Punk was promised a match with Austin, and others saying that who knows, maybe he's been told Michaels could be a possible part of a match. Even if he doesn't wrestle, to have Michaels in someone's corner would be enough, and to put over a WrestleMania match, what better can you do but put him in there? Of course, also to mention that two rookies, if you like, got their chance to be in the ring with Michaels. Otunga and McGillicuddy got their fan moment, and they got to stand in there.
It was quite funny. McGillicuddy was quite funny. I think Punk caught him off guard as well with something there on stage. McGillicuddy, although he did deliver in fairness too.
Absolutely. Now,
reigning tag champs still, aren't they?
They're still going strong. I don't think anybody is going to take on Otunga and McGillicuddy. They are the current, I think they're the hottest tag team.
Force to be reckoned with. Absolutely.
Who's there? I mean, we're even shorter now on gimmick tag teams than we ever have been before. Am I wrong? I mean, the Snookas are gone, and the
Usos are knocking around. They've got some Haka style stuff happening. There's rumours going around that those Kings of Wrestling chaps from Ring of Honor are on their way over.
Right.
Which might be an indication that they're going to step up the tag division. Although, how many times have we heard that in the last 10 years?
That's right, indeed. Now, of course, on to that CM Punk shoot, which, of course, was the finale of this week's Monday Night Raw. I'm not certain how this got hugely over. I can certainly see it as being a fantastic, shocking moment. Not to be wrong at all about this. This is, again, one of those things that I wait for, that we used to get about maybe every 5-6 weeks.
Mhm.
Some kind of swerve shock that we weren't expecting, something shoot, something that even, whether it was or not, it feels unplanned. So much so that maybe the commentary team shut up, and usually it could be some kind of violent encounter, but here we had something that was different, and for a while we haven't seen. But looking back though, what about that Joey Styles shoot, which I think that was around 2004? This to me seemed very much modelled off that. Now if you go back and check that out, you could literally search Joey Styles WWE shoot and you'll probably find a clip, but he even sounded like him once or twice in the middle of this. And it was kind of a situation where I think people who watched it recorded probably had a better idea of, look, this is something amazing, because it was kind of like you were halfway through and you heard the Triple H is a doofus and Stephanie's an idiot. That's the moment you went, oh, this is kind of different. But up until then, to me, it was just, he's talking on the mic.
It was keywords certainly that he was firing out. I thought Raw for the most part was okay. It was a little bit lackluster, but it was, yeah, like you say, when he started mentioning things that you just don't hear, like Laurinaitis calling out trips and really breaking those, as he said, the walls a little bit. Shock value for sure. 100% work without doubt, but it was a little bit refreshing just because you don't really hear those things that much. And I think overall for me, delivery was really, really spot on for him. He really handled it well, and they handled it well, cutting off that mic and going to the fading off. So I thought it was really, really good. I didn't go bonkers for it or anything, but I thought it was really, really good. And I think if any guy had the opportunity to do it in there at the moment, it was a safe enough choice. And I'm sure he'll probably stay on. Don't quote me on that, but I'm sure he will.
I think as the week went on, it became more apparent that was it a work? I mean, it was kind of work to shoot, wasn't it? I mean, they told him go out there. Maybe he had a rough. This claim they had no idea what he was going to say, but I can't believe that in this day and age that that kind of control would be let go. It did seem it though when they cut it after he literally went anti-bullying and that was it. Now they were very quick off the mark. I'm sure they had their finger ready to kind of cut the guy or whatever, but it was all timed so perfectly then, for the thing to end, and that was it. And he kind of got up and you saw him talking to the mic because obviously they could still hear him. So that's another factor that maybe he was saying, if you're not going to let me talk or whatever, that kind of pointed me in the direction that yes, it was all just shoot and he was coming out with this stuff. But like I say, looking back on it, I know in hindsight you could probably say that was not as good as the Joey Styles thing. He mentioned some stuff, but it just took me a while to click on. I'll tell you one part I did like, and that was when Cena was standing there selling.
Yeah.
And he had to keep selling, and that was the funny part for me. They kept coming back to him as he sold, and then finally he had to just turn around. He couldn't sell anymore,
Yeah, it was very good. It was very good. Here's the thing with Punk. I think, you can love him or hate him, but a lot of truth was in that. A lot of truth was in that promo. Are we still on here, yeah? We are. A lot of truth in that promo. Whether it was worked or not, I'm sure he definitely did speak a lot of truth from what I'm sure he felt, and certainly a lot of the guys in the back felt as well. And that's why it's become almost legendary, and he's a bit of a hero now because, he's the guy who got to say it, be it a work or not, but he was the one who was given that opportunity, If it was anyone else, imagine a Batista doing it. Would it have been over as much? I don't think so. If it was Jericho, maybe quite a lot, but I think Punk, in the position he's in with the controversy about him re-signing, I think that added to the fact that they probably went, okay, you can roll with it or whatever. And I'm sure they just said, look, Genuine, go for it. We'll knock you off when we need to or whatever. That's probably what my guess would be.
They know the fans support him, don't they? They know that the fans are behind him and that the internet wrestling community, as several people have mentioned here in the chat room, are also behind him, and they know that because I'm sure they're always constantly researching, whether they check out blog videos or wrestling forums. They're aware of who's over and who isn't, and it does prove that they do pay that bit of attention, that they know Punk is a guy, because it's not like they've said, like a Daniel Bryan, look, he's over with the internet people. They've kept that side of it quiet. They haven't just let that out, but they've worked us all the same by just putting him in that position. And I mean, I was begging for something like the Joey Styles shoot for years after seeing that thing. And if you haven't seen it, go back and have a look at it, because he did sound very, very like him at times. But there was, of course, those moments where he looked at the camera, he said hello to Colt Cabana, he had a chance to do things like that. There was almost a feeling of, he was like the spoiled child, and I think in a legit, real sense as well, that was allowed to go out and do what he wants, and I'm in such a great position, I'm so good that I can get away with all this. But then again, I've probably been massively worked. I mean, it is wrestling.
You for a moment you'd kind of think, who's the smart one? Was Punk the smart one, or was it, I know he called out Johnny Ace, or was it Trips, was it Steph, was it Vince? Who was the one who said, did anyone say, look, what we need you to do is go out and break literally everything that we've told you not to do? He mentions wrestler as, a band term or whatever, calling out Ring of Honor, New Japan, Colt Cabana, amongst probably a couple other things I can't remember, but fundamentally those were the key ones that made you go, hold on a second, is he actually saying this on a live Raw? What the fuck is going down? And I think that's why it just shook everybody so much, because you just don't hear that stuff these days, or in fact ever. So like you say, Joey Styles was probably the closest reference. Heyman did something similar-ish as well with that ECW one night stand thing. But I think genuinely it was Punk who was the smart one with it, and kind of just went and rolled with it, which shows, again, if he does get let go, I don't think he will, but if he does, another big time loss. We said it last week. They need to hold on to these guys any way they can, because look at just what we were talking about a minute ago, SmackDown Money in the Bank. Look at the guys in there at the moment. I mean, that doesn't spell out TROUBLE. I really just don't know what does at this stage.
Do you agree that Punk is somebody that basically is that good, that essentially he needs to be saved over everyone? Like, is he that good? I'm trying to wonder. I know that the wrestling side, as I've said, has always impressed me. I just don't remember any storylines that I thought, this is a great storyline, it involves him. He's been a heel forever now. And I always go back to, and I heard it talked about in an Orton interview this week, that time when Triple H invaded Randy Orton's house. That was the closest thing to being Attitude-ish from just a few years ago. And actually there was, and is, I think as well, an overall feeling of some kind of attitude coming back. Now, what attitude, I'm not sure yet. But when you've got people like Mark Henry destroying mixing desks and, beating up music production guys, and you've got, John Laurinaitis, he needs to come out and save the day. Things like that. It's not PG. It's moving towards that kind of, they say you're not allowed to say the word fight in WWE, for example. But there's a lot of fighting going on. And I think in general, I've also heard it mentioned a bit more. People have said, well, is the Attitude Era not kind of back now? Maybe it is. Maybe they're just giving a taste of it to keep us going. And it's enough, actually, Well,
I think we've said many times on WrestleDope that, you don't need the blood, you don't need the chairs, you don't need to be bashing people's heads in with ring bells to have good product, as long as it's cleverly written and it can appeal to a 10-year-old who likes C Nation and wants to shout what's up when R-Truth was dancing around like a goof back in the days, or it can appeal to guys who are a little bit older like ourselves, and know enough probably to get those kind of references, or even cop the in-jokes from the commentary side of things to make it entertaining for us so they can keep everybody happy. I just don't think it needs to go completely Attitude, but those kind of small touches, like the Mark Henry thing, was terrific, and they can tie us over with that stuff.
CM Punk and Shawn Michaels, a big part of opening up this wrestling week, and a big part as well. It is a week by week process for me. What can they do to keep me interested now? I don't owe them the viewership. They certainly don't care really if I view or not, but they have to give something every week. The Raw show should be solid week on week. I mean, you wonder what the problem is when it slows down. Often, people have said, well, the wrong town or the wrong this, the wrong that. They have a huge roster of guys. It should be varied and different every week, but also have those kind of serious moments, and somehow, throw a good light on Mark Henry, or a bad light if you like, and he's a fearsome heel again. That's all you need to do. Put him in his light that he should be seen in.
Yeah. I personally think SmackDown is the stronger of the two for the last couple of weeks.
It has been good.
Yeah, it's been really strong.
It has been good.
Raw's been decent, but I think SmackDown's kicking ass.
I certainly have thoughts on SmackDown, and we will indeed talk about SmackDown. Coming off that a bit, I was sad to see that actually Drew McIntyre was buried by Michaels. Did you see that?
Yeah. I know, of all the things. I mean, he had an opportunity there to... That's another thing. They kill it off, if it's a fun thing. I know they can pick it straight up, or back up next week straight away, but it's kind of sad to see old Drew get the super kick.
It was, and he kind of said, Michael said about Drew, dump that in the back, and I know McIntyre would see the funny side of that, but that was far, did he know he was going to say that? I mean, he might have just heard that as he laid on the ground and thought, Jesus, I really am buried now at this point. But I hope it wasn't that politic type thing that went on with, what was her name? Tiffany. If that stuff was the end of Drew's career, then it's a message for everyone in that locker room. I mean, I just heard this week, I didn't know, that The Miz actually goes out with Maurice. Now, he better be careful there.
Yeah, I'd say she's tough work. In fairness, though, I do really see potential if they go with it with Del Rio and Maurice. That's a perfect combination there. Ricardo's out of the picture. God bless him. I don't know what happened to him, but he's out of the picture anyway. Maurice and Del Rio, that's star power there, the two of them for sure.
Absolutely. Now, also to say hello to everyone in the chat room. Vincent Durden, I think Punk could take on Austin's anti-establishment persona. And Curtain Call, hello to you. The Austin shirt may represent Punk's persona, a heel that is over with the crowd. And also, Vincent, it was a great work, since it will build up the pay-per-view in Chicago, where the Chicago crowd always boos Cena and cheers Punk. And it's a good point, because to actually have something like this going into a pay-per-view, it feels like it's been forever that we've had a solid reason to see, well, what's going to happen? What are they going to do at the end of this? Is he going to, spend the last 10 minutes giving a farewell speech? They'll have something special, I think, maybe on the back of this.
That's very true. Chicago crowd's always pretty kicking, and like whoever said that in the chat room. They're not stupid, They know Punk is his hometown, and he's over as hell after Monday night. Not that he wasn't already, but even more so. So I think it will, even people who might not be the biggest of wrestling fans or have pulled away from the product, will entice them back to see, what's going to happen with this whole deal. Absolutely. Also, of course, to mention that if you haven't yet seen it, you can check out our Jerry Jarrett interview on the channel, youtube.com/TheWrestleDope. We spent over an hour actually talking to Jerry, and so many great answers to the questions that we asked him. Stuff about creating TNA and thoughts on various wrestlers. There's a lot in there, and it's a full 1 hour. You can check that out now on youtube.com/TheWrestleDope. And again, to say thanks to Jerry, it was a great opportunity. Top guy, yeah. I'd like to go for a few drinks with him sometime. Indeed, he did even say at the end of that, if he was over in Ireland, he might look us up. We could actually be having a drink. Did he mention Guinness? I don't think he did. I don't think so. We'd go for an all Guinness with Jerry if he does ever come over here, and maybe we might get a sit down interview. That would be good. But also, just to let you know on that front, that interviews looking good. Fantastic stuff coming up. Yeah, the peeps are going to enjoy some new school stuff.
Absolutely excited about some of the names that are involved, and it takes a while to get these together. It takes a while to get somebody to commit to a time. Of course, we always have that time difference as well, and then it can take a bit of time to get it up there. But like I say, plenty more of those to come, and stay with the channel, subscribe, and who knows who could be up next on the Superstar interview series.
We can't. We won't say anything just yet, just in case.
Absolutely.
But, there's some good ones in the running order.
Vincent, it will be interesting to see if Vince turns it into a worked screw job like he did with Hart in Montreal.
How do you think it's going to pan out?
Cena and Punk, is it?
Do you think Punk's going to just go?
Increasingly as the week went on, I felt more and more this is just a work, and he's signed his contract. I don't know. I know there's talk about suspensions and all this, but look at Daniel Bryan. I mean, they sent him away for 2-3 months, and he came back. And I know it's not quite going to be like that, but if I was to put a guess on it, honestly, I think he's just playing the spoiled brat at the moment, and maybe it is a character and it is a storyline. Whether it is real or not, I think he's going to be there. I honestly do.
Yeah. Well, my thoughts are the exact same. Yeah, I reckon he's gonna stay. I don't know how it's going to pan out with the whole Money in the Bank situation, but so let's get this straight. It's Cena versus Punk.
That's right.
And then you've got Money in the Bank winner to contend with in Chicago, Punk's hometown.
Absolutely. Will we go there now? Money in the Bank predictions. We always could.
Let's do it.
So that was our thoughts on many different aspects of Raw. Of course, Michaels, Punk, and indeed next up on YouTube, if you're watching there, will be the Money in the Bank predictions. So keep it here on YouTube.